Hello and welcome to a very special unboxing and review of the new Achtung Panzer starter set published by Warlord Games. If you're familiar with bolt action, you won't be surprised to see the similarities. This is a 1/56 scale World War II miniatures game specially designed to recreate the full-on tank combat experience. It's like you're there with your teammates inside that Iron Titan. Join us to see what's inside the box. Very special thanks to Warlord Games for their continued support through all these years. They have provided us with this new starter set as a demo version of the game so we could share our first impression and excitement with you guys as we take a look inside the box. So thanks again to Warlord Games. This is the Blood and Steel starter set. The main difference between the store's version, which is the one you're gonna be able to get, and this one is the inclusion of a set of extra resin pieces you can use as accessories or stowage for your tanks. You will find this included in a regular version of this box, but not in this demo box. So I won't be able to show you those pieces, but I'll be able to share a couple of pictures as we flip some of the pages from the instructions booklet. This new starter set is bulky. The box feels sturdy despite the sort of soft cardboard build all around. The sides of the box are definitely the strongest point. If you're familiar with the Warlord Games starter sets, you'll find the same feel to it, but this one is really heavy. You can tell it's packed tight with goodies. On the side of the box we'll find the contents list in different languages: Spanish, German, Italian, and French. I'm guessing we'll see the same version of this box all around the world. As far as I know, the rulebook has only been released or published in English, but I'm sure we'll be able to get it in different languages in the future. The contents of the box produced and manufactured in the United Kingdom. On the back of the box we'll get to see a beautiful picture of what it seems to be a battle taking place. I'm guessing it's Normandy, and images of some of the contents. There is also a full list of what's inside the box. We'll get to see all the contents later on in detail. As we open the box, we're immediately seduced by the sweet scent of fresh ink from the glossy pages recently printed somewhere in Nottingham, I'm guessing. For those in a hobby, there's no greater pleasure than the smell of a new rulebook in our hands. Soft cover, 108 pages long, all printed in color with atmospheric pictures and drawings that blend perfectly with the text and design of the book. Underneath we'll find a thin booklet, also in color, which contains all the assembly instructions for the model kits included. Protecting the printed material we'll find a quick reference sheet, printed in color, and this is a great resource during a game session. It comes with a couple of cardboard rulers, just in case you forgot your measuring tapes at home. Trapped underneath you'll find all the good stuff, the addictive plastic stuff your mother warned you about when you were a kid, a pack of 6 extra small 6-sided dice, and a couple of plastic bags with the traditional smoke and fire markers for your tanks. If you're familiar with bolt action, you've definitely seen this before. As we dig through the small packages, we're happy to find Mirella's card. So thank you, Mirella, and I'm sure we'll get to see more cards like hers along the way. Along with the plastic models, we'll find different packs of cards. The big white box comes with the Events cards deck. These small-sized cards are the assets cards for both factions. We'll talk more about those later during the video. There's also a couple of extra envelopes with cardboard content, including the Aces cards, Tanks data cards, and markers. We take those to the side so we can take a closer look at the plastic kits. This box comes packed tight with sprues. Each model kit packed individually, the 3 British tanks at the top, 2 Sherman V or 5, and 1 Sherman Firefly. These are older models, but great models nevertheless. Very easy to assemble, and you'll get a great looking tank in the end, with lots of detail and extra options. The other 2 kits you'll get in this starter set are 2 German Panther tanks, also packed individually, and it's basically the same kit we've seen before for bolt action. Also a great kit, easy to assemble, and a beautiful model. Finally, at the bottom we'll find 4 extra sprues with some scenery. Just enough plastic to build from somewhere between 2 to 4 sets of ruins. We've also seen this before sold separately or as part of other bolt action starter sets. Now let's take a closer look at some of the components, starting with the instructions booklet. At the back, there is a painting and suggested assembly guide for the resin bits and pieces used as accessories and stowage for your tanks. Sadly, I can't share close-ups of those pieces, but they certainly look very interesting and wild. The set includes such things as a bicycle, a banjo, and cartwheels. I can only imagine the story behind such things. As we flip the first page, we notice the inclusion of a starting scenario called First Blood. It's intended to show you the ropes, how to play, using only the contents of this starter set. Next, we find historical information about the German Panther tank and the tank ace included in this set, Rudolf von Ribbentrop. And this is the first of a series of narrative elements embedded in the game mechanics that caught my attention, as I see the potential the game offers. Then we see the assembly instruction of the Panther tank. The next section starts with historical information regarding the Sherman tank and the different versions the British used during the middle and late periods of World War II, followed by some extra narrative elements for the other tank ace included in this box, Sergeant George Killer Drink. The Sherman V or Sherman 5 tank and the Sherman Firefly get their corresponding assembly instructions, followed by a decal sheet guide. Wisely, Warlord Games managed to stick all the decals for both factions in a single sheet. Now let's take a closer look at the rulebook. Game design credit goes to Mike Bradford, the mastermind behind this rule set. No quick start guide or rule summary at the back, so that's a missed opportunity. Rules-wise, there's only 88 pages of rules. The remaining pages include blank data cards, extra assets, event cards, extra tokens, and charts. All very important if you're planning to bring your own tanks and factions to the game and not limit yourself to the contents of this box. Now let's talk rules. The game is structured in turns. Both players interact and activate their individual tanks following an initiative phase at the beginning of each turn. Both players, or each side, if you're playing with multiple players, will randomly pick an activation token for each of the tanks. The tokens included in this set show numbers on the back and go as far as the number 12. In theory, the maximum number of tanks you can play is 12. Keep the initiative tokens to yourself, and at this point, you'll need to roll a radio check to see if communications between your tanks are viable. If the radio check succeeds, you'll get to see and assign an activation token to each of your tanks the way you want. If the roll fails, you'll assign those initiative tokens without looking. Once both sides have assigned their initiative tokens to their tanks, it's time to reveal the numbers. Tanks will proceed to activate in order starting initiative 1. Now, line of sight. It must be traced from the commander's hatch, and true line of sight applies. It's also important to determine each turn if the commander is hiding under a closed hatch or if he's exposed, standing proudly on top, which means he's exposed to damage but also providing a better opportunity to spot and react faster to the enemy. Next comes the action phases. There are 3 action phases each turn. Every tank will get a movement order assigned by you, the tank commander, and then complete a tactical action. The game feels rich when it comes to the number of actions available and the detailed narrative elements that implies deciding between them. All because timing is very important. Firing the main gun, for example, requires the gun's chamber to be loaded. That takes time, and you must assign one of your actions during your activation to successfully load the gun. In order to load the gun, you'll take a gunner's check. Failing badly could mean that the shell drops and maybe even explodes. Firing the gun has a much greater chance of success if you previously took the time and actions to aim the cannon. Failing to do so will give you the chance to roll for a snapshot maybe, with very little chance of success. The different options of ammunition you could load in the tank also provides a sense of realism and excitement. You could even use smoke rounds to create some cover between you and your enemies. Speaking of time, the game is measured in time units instead of number of turns. Some scenarios have a time limit, that is, game time limit, not real time. Let's say the battle will take 45 minutes. At the end of each turn, the players will make an elapsed time roll, adding minutes to the game scenario equal to the number rolled. You keep adding those minutes until the maximum time limit is reached. Every 10 minutes, reinforcements might be available. The last couple of pages are dedicated to the tanks and weapons available for each of the factions. A couple of blank data sheets will allow us to write down our own tanks' stats using this information. If you want to play with Soviet tanks, for example, you have everything you need to make it happen. Campaign rules and Ace Tanks rules are also provided. The way everything is laid out and how the game components add up to each other, and the fact that Warlord Games is giving us all these extras to play with much more than just the 5 tanks included here, makes me excited. We have a solid and very narrative-driven game system in our hands. Next is the cards and cardboard components. We'll start with markers. Letters are used for tank identification. We'll place matching letters both in our data cards and tank models. The numbers are used as initiative tokens. Some other tokens, like the ambush markers, are used scattered over the gaming table, attached to different terrain elements that could be hidden possible threats. Our tank crews could use some weapons or assets cards to clear those positions. There is also a time track board with 3 different action phases to keep track of time and the actions we use during a turn. Each tank will get a set of tank tokens. Here you will find your command or order markers, ammunition tokens, spot and aim tokens, and your crew abilities. The tank data cards are like those character gaming boards you use in some board games in which you do resource management. Strong yet flexible cardboard, matte painting. We get a data card for each of the tanks included, double-sided, one side for a different version of a tank. The Firefly is opposite to the Sherman 5. When you're building your tank force, every tank has a different points value. The level of experience of your tank crews will also add up to the grand total. The starter set also comes with a couple of tank aces, which are very strong but also expensive options for your army list. The German's Panther tank data card also is double-sided with 2 different options. The game also includes an events deck. Both players will take cards from this deck every turn. The cards will give you a variety of triggering effects during the game. One might be use of reinforcements, another could be your chance to activate an ambush token against your opponent. Some cards are definitely more powerful than others. Both players will keep the cards hidden from each other. This element of surprise and suspense is a very welcome addition to the rules mechanics. The smaller cards with the faction symbols are the assets cards. Both players will get to buy different assets in secret, rolling on a chart that will indicate how many points or stars each player gets to buy their assets. The game includes assets for the Germans and British during this period of war. Some of the cards have certain conditions in order to be chosen by the player, in that scenario, or other requirements, so it can be used at a certain moment during the battle. Both Germans and British have access to special equipments and tactics historically accurate, like Panzerfaust or Piat teams, airstrikes, etc. This is another great game element that adds up to the very rich and exciting gaming experience. The game also comes with 3 little plastic bags with smoke and fire markers. All this pretty familiar to those of you who have played Bolt Action. I just love this. A bag of 6 six-sided dice, all black. These are kinda cute, small and neat. You could bring your own dice, but these are just perfect even if you're using as markers of some sort. Finally, the plastic, our one true addiction here at Game Master's Hobby. All model kits have been previously released by Warlord Games. The British will get 2 individually packed Sherman 5 kits, 3 plastic sprues each, easy to assemble and a great level of detail. The model includes some extra bits and pieces to be used as stowage. Pretty simple, really. Great kit, either as a display or as a gaming model. The Firefly is very similar to the Sherman 5, but the main cannon and turret will make the difference, even during the battle. Just like the Sherman 5, the model is very easy to assemble and it has a great level of detail. The other 2 kits at the bottom are the German Panther tanks. We notice a difference in color. The model has also been previously released by Italieri, which explains the difference in plastic. It is a great kit. very easy to put together and with a great level of detail. We can see shimmery details over the side panels and the turret and the hull, very accurate to this version of the Panther during their Normandy liberation. Two of these tanks are more than a threat to the three British tanks included in this starter set, so don't underestimate them. Finally, at the bottom, 4 scenery sprues. These have been previously released by Warlord Games. Some of their bolt action starter sets also include 1 or 2 of these ruins kits. Strong build and detail. There's no instructions to guide us as we try to put them together. Still, the ruins are very easy to build. We can assemble them in different ways, and in the end we'll get somewhere between 2 or maybe 4 different ruined buildings. So, our final thoughts. After playing a couple of scenarios using only the contents of this box, I'm excited. The first game was like learning to ride a bicycle, constantly stopping and going back to the rulebook, trying to find out that one rule you read somewhere that explains how to get across an obstacle and if rolling a 1 on that dice has a special consequence. But as soon as we finished playing that game, I was already excited and ready for the next one. I love the time tracking element of the game, but I do feel limited and restrained when it comes to the actions you can use during your tank activation. Looking back, it makes sense. It makes you feel like a tank crew member, all sweaty and all. Everyone's yelling, trying to do your thing as fast as you can, knowing the enemy's out there but you can't see them. I just love this game. If you're into bolt action, Achtung Panzer will be an easy option for you. You'll get to use your tank collection without a problem. And if you're a fan of movies such as Fury or the series Band of Brothers, I think you're gonna love this game. Future expansions are definitely on the way, including some other theaters of war. I would love to see the Alamein, Tobruk, Kursk, or the invasion of France, even the war in the Pacific. So thanks again to Warlord Games. You can find this starter set and other tanks expansions at their website. You could also contact Ares Santiago, information on screen, if you can find a store near you. He's actively helping gaming clubs and gaming events all over America. And just make sure to activate all those notifications to stay alert. We'll be posting new battle reports both in Spanish and English very soon. So thanks so much for watching and keep rolling those dice.